Holly with Posh Glam and Pristine, and I am super excited to be recording this video and somewhat surprised because I totally did not expect to record this video, or at least not like in the near future. But here we are. I am so excited. If you have been following the blog or the YouTube channel, then obviously you know that one of the things I enjoy making things with is the Cricut, whether it's my Cricut Air 2 or whether it's my mini Cricut Joy, which stays right here on my desk. And you also know that, I guess at this point, a little over a week now, a new Cricut gadget came out, and that would be the Cricut mug press. So it's actually still sealed in the box. I'm going to be making probably quite a few posts as it relates to this, but I want to do some unboxing. Again, lots of other people you've seen have already unboxed this, but decided it's still worth it. One of the things that I actually had to do when I purchased my particular mug press was buy a heating pad. I've been using my heat press because I originally had the first generation Cricut Easy Press, gave it away to a friend so she could get started with crafting, and I sprung for an actual official heat press. And so once I did that, I did not actually have a mat anymore. I gave her all of the items. So I went ahead and purchased one just because from what I've seen, what I've read, the machine gets warm, and since you are sublimating on mugs, you need a soft surface that can stand heat to hold that. Other thing that I did, and I actually did not order this online, I went ahead and purchased this at the craft store. So the same day that I'm doing this video is the same day I picked this up. I went ahead and also purchased the Cricut mug set. So this particular mug set is a set of, I think it's 6. Let's see. Yeah. No, 3, 4, 5 mugs. And these are the 12-inch mugs. So if you've done some Googling around or done some research, you will see that right now this particular press, mug press, can use a smaller mug, like more like your standard coffee mug size, and then it goes up to a slightly larger one, which is good. Now, I did go ahead and open this, but one of the things that I appreciated, just in case you haven't seen this, is I appreciate the way that they organized these and separated these. I will not be keeping all of these for myself as I craft with these. I totally plan to give some away to friends and family. And so one of the things I also like about it is each one is individually in its own bubble wrap. So my goal is, as I make things, to be able to wrap it back in here. For shipping, if I have to ship anything, I'm still gonna add some extra padding to the box, but I just really appreciate that each one of these inside the box, once you look in here, they were individually wrapped. Let's put this back in here a little bit later. So I'm gonna set this to the side, and I'm going to get ready to open the actual mug press and break the seal. So once the seal is broke, it's all there. Oh, let's see if I can actually open it without tearing it. And it's done. Oh, so did not realize sealed it really good. Let's do the sides. 1 and 2. Okay, now let's see. That time it was the charm. So right out of the box, and I actually love this. It's been a while since I've opened a new Cricut product. I've had my Air 2, I think, for about at least 2 years now, and then the Joy is probably a little bit over. It might not be quite over a year old, but it's getting pretty close because I kind of got that one as soon as it came out, and the Joy is a year open. But just like we've come to expect from Cricut, one of the first things you'll see is the Open Me. I love that. And actually impressed at just first things out the box that I'm really impressed about is the size and the weight. I really wasn't sure what I was going to be expecting in terms of the weight. I don't have the maker, so I can't compare the weight to that, but with my Joy, I can honestly say I've traveled a ton with my Joy and I don't mind taking it just because it's an easy grab. This weight on this kinda, to me, is slightly heavier than a Joy, but I would actually still be willing, if I had to, in an emergency, to travel with this. If I was going on a car trip. Obviously, if I'm on a plane or train, which is my favorite way to travel, probably not gonna take it, but it is lightweight enough that you can do it. The other thing I appreciate is that everything is like sealed and kind of like dust protected, so that's really, really nice. So I'm going to pause the camera and we're going to walk through setting this up. So when I originally purchased the very first Easy Press, I did not actually have to connect that Cricut Easy Press to Design Space. Obviously, with the Air 2 and with the Joy, I had to connect those to my Design Space. Same thing for this particular machine, at least to set it up, not to use continuously. You will have to and want to connect it to Design Space. So we're gonna go over to the computer and do that now. We are back, and honestly, from the time that I actually took it out the box, unsealed the saran wrap that was around this to plug it up to the computer, it's probably taken me about 5 minutes. I will say this, because with your setup, you have to connect the USB to your computer and the actual machine itself for them to talk to each other. The cord is a little bit short. The great thing about it is this particular process you don't have to do often. You do it for the initial setup, and then of course you would do this again if there's like an update that you may need to check for. So that piece isn't that terrible, and truthfully it's all about where your USB ports are placed on your computer. This particular computer, I love it, but one of my review pieces about this computer that I'm using is that the USB ports tend to be in some awkward positions. So there's like one on the side, and then there are 2 or 3 that are all the way in the back, which are really super inconvenient. I have like a little fix over here for that, but no big deal. The other thing you need to know, when I plugged it in, I didn't actually cut on the power or anything to this, but as soon as you connect it to your computer, the orange light will automatically start to blink. 1, that lets you know it's connected to the computer, but 2, the blinking also represents the fact that you need to do an update. So if you were new to Design Space, there's a sticker that tells you where to go to set up your machine. Obviously, I'm not new to Design Space. So for me, I'm logged into my account. This is one of the main computers I use for Cricut. So I'm going to simply do new machine setup. And so from there, it's going to ask you what machine, and let's see. Because I was expecting, I think, in my mind, I thought I was going to see mug press, but maybe it's under heat press. So let's give it a shot and see. Oh, and there it is. I kind of clicked the button too fast. Let's see if we can go back. So yes. So I was thinking I was going to see a picture kind of like this, but again, this particular machine is a type of heat press. So just know when you see this, you're not clicking on cutting machine. Obviously, you're clicking heating press and you're clicking Cricut mug press. And this is what I'm talking about also earlier when I mentioned the Easy Press. So the 2nd gen, or the Easy Press 2, which are this color, I think there's like a dark teal and in like a purple lilac color, they have to be connected to the machine. The very, very first one, which was, I think is it was a lighter green or tealish kind of color, those didn't have to be connected to your Design Space, which means that they only got so hot, plus they only did so much. So once Cricut started updating things, the 1st gen of the Easy Presses didn't get those updates. And that was another reason why I wanted to switch out my machine. So let's set up the Cricut mug press though. That's what we're talking about today. So it's telling you automatically to place on a heat resistant surface. So I'm just going to grab, if you remember earlier, I showed you the press machine. Probably going to shift around a little bit. So I'm going to put it on a separate table if I can, just because I'm not sure how hot this will get, and I don't want it to be super close to my machine. Okay, so I have it on the mat now. And this is just showing you step-by-step directions. This particular option, visual, is something Cricut started doing recently with a few things. And if you go to Design Space now, you'll start to see more YouTube type like videos of walking you through how to do things. I absolutely love that. So mug press USB, we've done that, and now we're going to hit continue. And the next thing it wants to do is just confirm that it's you. You're going to agree to this. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, the mugs that I purchased today were Cricut mugs. Especially right out the box, you're going to want to make sure that you're using Cricut materials. Otherwise, using other materials, more than likely, I'm pretty sure when you read the manual, it's going to void the warranty. So if you want to make sure that your warranty is safe, like I plan to do, you're going to want to use Cricut materials. And if you heard that, that was the machine turning itself on and off and setting up and downloading the firmware that goes with this particular machine. So we're going to watch it do that for however long it takes. And for timing things still, I would say that took less than 60 seconds. And I love that it automatically takes you into Design Space, and you can actually see some of the videos that I was talking about. This pop-up is new, and so this is probably just, it looks like it's walking through supplies that we'll need, and I kind of showed some of the things. So our next step, we're going to make our first mug. Alright, Bells, we are back. So just to recap, if you are still in this YouTube video following along, thank you. So I just unboxed the Cricut mug press for the first time. Then I walked through setting up the actual mug press on my desktop computer. And then what I have now is I have just cut out a simple design on infusible ink. So there are two different size infusible ink options. Haven't opened this one. I actually have another one here. I don't use it as often as I probably should and could, but this is one of the things I do want to get to use more. So I just opened a box that I had, and I made like one project with it to test out this design. The one thing you have to keep in mind when you're working with infusible ink, this is kind of the Cricut version of sublimation printing, if you will, meaning that when the design goes on that particular mug, it's going to be permanent. It's going to be pretty much forever, so that you can dishwasher it, you can put it in the microwave if you wanted to, compared to have this lovely cup that I've had for probably a little over a year now, I'm pretty sure at this point, from This Is Tisa. And so this particular one is using vinyl. So if I rub my finger over the top of it, you probably can't hear it from this distance, but you can hear the vinyl and my finger touching because the vinyl sits on top of the mug. And so that means that you always pretty much want to hand wash your items so that they'll last longer. I have, not often, but I have been known to, like, if I catch something and there's an error, to be able to fix it on here, because when I'm using vinyl or permanent vinyl or 651. You'll hear either one of those. That just means the vinyl is permanent. So if you let it sit for 24 to 48 hours, it doesn't come off easily when you're using it. And so for this, again, like I said, because I've hand washed it, taken care of it, it's been on here for well over a year. But with that, if I tried to and scraped it out, I could do that. Whereas when we put this design on the mug press, what it is going to be what it is. So I'm simply going to take it off the mat. And yes, I'm using a bigger mat. So I ran out of smaller mats. Just cover the bottom because I clearly didn't need that. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to weed it. And the one thing you want to keep in mind with your transfer designs is that these particular pieces, you don't necessarily have to use the weeding tools. So I usually like to make my designs big so I can just pop them out. So I'm going to do that and then we'll get ready to try out the mug press. Hey Bells, so have the design cut out. One of the things and the reason why I came up close is I wanted you to see this. One thing about infusible ink, it's always good to be patient and not be in a rush. Also, don't forget to mirror your design. I actually had to recut mine because I forgot that. But if you look at the very bottom, there are 2 white spots right here. So when I was weeding this design, I knocked some of the pink off. So if I had gone ahead and used this particular design, that means when my mug finished, then there would have been these 2 white specks. So I have a clean design. And since I forgot to weed, I had to use a different color pink because obviously gotta be pink for the first one. So now I'm just gonna line it up on the mug and let's get started and use the mug press for the first time. This is the first mug that I'm actually taking out of the package. As you will notice, there was bubble wrap and then the mug itself was in this sealed piece of plastic. And you could rip it open. I chose to cut it just because if this were a gift, I might want to save this. So I could put the mug back in the same place, but this is actually going to be my mug. The other thing you want to make sure you do before you place your design is use a lint roller, just to make sure you wipe off any residue, anything like that. So I'm going to pause, go get that, and get that done. All right, so we are back. I used the lint roller to clean up my mug, and this particular tip I actually saw from Jennifer Maker. This is going to obviously be my first time using sublimation, or actually, yeah, this is my first time actually even working with the mug for crafting. And so one of her recommendations was to take the mug handle and line it up towards you. As you will see in a few minutes when we put this in the mug press, the handle will be always something that you can touch throughout this process. Other thing she recommended was that you go ahead and kind of have an idea of like where you want to make sure your center is. And I'm not so sure, just looking at this design and what I've done, that this would be a design that I would do again. But like I said, this is my first one, so it's totally fine. And if I'm being honest, this design actually was a template in Cricut that somebody else already used, but I changed the wording around. So if you can see at the top, my design is actually slightly bigger than the mug because it looks like, because again, I didn't read, but it looks like maybe they meant for this design to be for the larger mug, because there is an option for the larger mug. No big deal for me because I'm just practicing. Again, like I said, this design is totally mine. All I'm really concerned about is getting the wording on here. And the good thing about this is, even though it's transfer tape, this is forgivable in terms of like if you need to lift up your design and kind of like replace it on the mug. So, and as I'm looking at it, I think it may come out cuter than what I'm expecting. As you lay your design on your mug, especially if you're using words when you're looking at it, you should be able to read the words correctly. So my mug is going to say Life by Design. I can clearly see before I even place this in the mug press that the words are exactly like I want. Now again, like I said, this top part, everything won't infuse, but right up to, I guess, the top where the lid is, will actually be infused, so it may make for a very unique design. The other thing you want to be mindful of is when you are designing, to go really past this handle or closer to the handle is not going to be a good fit, just because from what I've read, what I've researched, the heat will not hit that part. Again, this particular design, because I think it's for the bigger mug, it looks like it's probably going to miss some. It's not a big deal. One, because it's the first one. Two, because it's mine. So let's head over to the mug press and try it out. All right, Bells, so we are back. The only thing that I've done in the time that I have set this up is that I let the mug press get warm. I set a timer on my Google for 4 minutes. It actually dinged when it was ready. Again, with this particular machine, there's only the button that you press to clamp down on the design and the mug to get it started, and then the machine itself takes care of adjusting the temperature based off of what's inside your house and the machine itself. The last time I used infusible ink, I actually used it on my heat press, because earlier, remember I told you I gave the easy press to a friend, and where my particular heat press sits, because it has to get a certain temperature, set off the fire alarm. So I have this kind of near the window. I don't actually have the window open, because everything that I read is supposed to say you can or can't, so we're trying it without. The one thing I do want to make sure I'm mindful of, because I don't actually have any heat protective gloves per se. I'm not using heat protective tape. With the transfer tape, this stuck pretty well. Again, I think because it's for a bigger cup than, or a bigger mug, this piece kind of connected to each other. So this is pretty secure. I'm not worried about it coming off. But I do want to make sure that I did not touch the green, because I can actually literally feel the heat. So I'm going to place the mug in. And don't know that I've heard anybody say, but that was kind of awkward, if I'm being honest, of placing that in. Maybe I should have practiced beforehand, but I didn't. But I'm sure over time it'll get less awkward, but that was weird. And then I'm going to push it down on the lever. And so from there, I can see the dots automatically working. And when the mug is ready to be taken out, from my understanding, it's supposed to beep so that I'll know when to take it out. Now, when the mug comes out, obviously, because the pieces that's inside will be hot, it will not be ready for me to take the paper off. So it will require some patience. Again, like I mentioned earlier, when I work with infusible ink, even though I haven't worked with it that much, I would highly recommend that you don't do it in a rush. Whereas I know sometimes with vinyl, I've been like, or especially with cardstock, I need to make something really quick for a friend or something, and I can do it and it's ready to go. So I would definitely say don't rush the process with infusible ink. I can smell it, so people did mention, especially using it for the first time, there were fumes. So I am actually going to pause this and open up the window while it, totally forgot I got new blinds, so I don't even have to do that. I'm just going to open the window up. So if you hear cars now, sorry, but I did open the windows just to get a little bit more air flow. And actually, where I have the heat, my mug press right now, I'm going to move the heat press over here, because the air vents and everything are closer to this space. The other thing I'm noticing as I'm watching this is there are about 5 dots or so right above the power button. And so these dots, I guess, as the mug sits in here longer, they are lightening up. The other thing I can see is, if you recall when I talked about the design, I noticed that my particular design was taller than the actual mug that I'm using, the Cricut mug, because I got the smaller Cricut mugs. I can actually see, looking over like how the design is starting to take shape on the mug inside of here, which is kind of really, it's really cool. I'm not sure if I had done just the right size design. I'm not sure if I had done just the right size design on this actual mug, I would have been able to see this, but the color is coming right to the top. So when this beeps, I'm going to take it out, let it cool, and I will be back to show you the finished product. Alright guys, so we have reached the home stretch. If you are still with me in this unboxing make a first mug, I'm so excited. Also, don't forget to subscribe while you're editing and watching this. I set my Google timer for about 8 minutes, and I will be completely honest with you. Even with the 8 minutes, this is still like warm, so I would not put my hands automatically on here. I can literally still feel the heat. And remember, even though I'm in North Carolina, so it's not like Florida hot or anything like that, but I do have my windows up, and yeah, it's still got quite a bit of heat off of here. The other thing I noticed, and again, this could be because if you remember, Cricut has 2 options with your mug size. So I'm thinking this particular design, since I just kind of tweaked one that was already available in Design Space, was for the larger mug. I noticed that around the edges you will see a little bit of black where I guess like the heat and things were supposed to infuse, and there was nowhere to infuse them. So like there's a spot right here inside of the machine, just a little bit. There's like a little bit of this burnt piece that's on there, nothing major. And once it cools down, it looks like I'll probably be able to wipe it off, so I'll definitely try that. What I'm going to do without touching it as much as possible is I'm just going to try to take the transfer tape off. Now, the one thing I did also like about this particular design in Design Space is that the way this leaves almost like a handle to make it easier for you to peel this piece off. Interesting. So I'm saying interesting. I'm going to flip this around so that you can actually see the design. So let's talk about that. Hold on. Okay, so let's talk about the mug and what I'm seeing. There are a few little spots, like a little black spots. These are not infused on the actual mug itself. I think it came off the transfer tape. It's like transfer residue. What I can say is, in terms of the design, remember I explained that the particular design I did at the top, it was kind of left open, so where it burnt on there a little bit more, I can see that here. Not terrible, but I can definitely tell there's a different color at this top part compared to here. The one thing I really love is the fact that this particular design is in the mug. I can wash it, I can throw it in the dishwasher. It's not coming off, it's definitely infused. I would say that this project and this machine is a definite must. Don't forget to subscribe, make something fabulous, and as always, stay fabulous, bells.